Bolts Nation, welcome once again to another episode of the Bolts Block Party. I am your host, Greg Wolf, with my cohort, the amazing Braydon Coburn, and we're excited to have this gentleman here with us. He did win 2 Stanley Cups here with your Tampa Bay Lightning. It is Luke Schenn. Luke, thank you so much for being here with us on the Bolts Block Party. We're excited to have you, and does it feel good to be back here in Tampa Bay, man? How's it feel?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Honored to be here with you guys. And Kobe, my old workout partner, back when we were, 14 years old in Saskatchewan. Here we are doing podcasts together. Yeah. 17 years down the road, so this is great.
I was telling Wolfie a little bit about our workouts from early on. You know, I remember going to the gym, seeing you and your brother there, and, you know, talking to the trainer, Whitey, and he's like, yeah, those kids are pretty good. You know, they got a good chance. And, you know, you're like, yeah, every 14, 15-year-old kids, they got a chance. And little did I know, you know, not only would we be doing a podcast together, but we'd play together twice on 2 different teams. And
exactly.
And you and Braydon, both Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, no, it's to answer your question, really, it feels so good to be back in Tampa. I mean, it's obviously this place is so special. Anytime you get the chance to win a Stanley Cup in a city, it's like this is almost home and away too, and you're just so close and connected to everyone in that room over there. And what a great organization and group of guys, and pretty special and fortunate to be along for the ride here with the Bolts guys. And me and Kobe go way back, Dad, Philly days, and training together, and a couple good Sasky boys. And I actually did a couple hockey camps with his younger brother Greg too. So
that's right.
Yeah, we go way back.
The Sask roots run deep. Yes.
So for the Bolts
Let's
Nation
just talk
out there,
about
Sask. Let's talk about it. So 2008 entry draft, you were selected in the first round, which pretty remarkable. The 5th overall by the Maple Leafs. Won 2 Stanley Cups, obviously here with Tampa Bay Lightning in 2021. Represented Canada internationally. Won the gold medal in the 2008 World Juniors and the silver in 2009. And then, like we just talked about, your minor league hockey team, the Saskatoon Red Wings, where your dad, Jeff, was the coach. Is that correct?
Yeah, a typical minor hockey Sask where dad's coaching, but he coached my brother and I pretty much growing up, you know, for majority of our careers. He'd kind of alternate years, and then kind of when my brother got older, he'd coach him a little bit more. But I'm sure you can relate to always the backyard rink. People in Tampa can never relate to this, but freezing cold, minus 30 Celsius all winter. And everyone, actually, this is kind of a weird thing, but we had probably 5 or 6 backyard hockey rinks just on our one block alone.
Wow.
And I think 9 or 10 kids made it to the Western Hockey League on our one street in Saskatchewan. So that's just kind of like how you grew up. I know it's a lot different here, tougher to find ice and stuff.
Of course.
But we just grew up playing on the backyard rink. So
does Jeff, your dad, does he take credit for all that?
Like, of course. Yeah. He's still the
architect.
He's the architect. He's still the first call after every game. And oh man, it's some of the breakdowns you get from him. Even, you know, I call him after, or he'll call me after watching the St. Louis Blues games, and he's got their system figured out too, why they're not winning or why they're in a bit of a slump. So yeah, he still knows it all for sure.
Dad knows best, man.
Exactly.
What's the best piece of advice your dad's ever given you?
That's a good one. I mean, there were some years where every second year in Saskatoon, I was on a really bad team where we would just get slaughtered every game, and you know, you'd be in your D zone the whole night, and you know, you'd lose by 15, 16 goals. Every second year it was just bad. And I remember coming home like in the car and just being like almost in tears, being like, can't get out of the D zone. Like, you know, you win a battle in the corner, you move it up, and then you get scored on and all that stuff. And he's like, this is the best thing for you because what are you? You're a defenseman. So you got to keep playing D, keep working on your D zone. So it was just the whole thing to enjoy it. He wasn't the guy to, you know, pull you aside and, you know, get mad and say, oh, you need to do this. He was always supportive, but always reasonable. So I don't know if that's the best advice, but he was always, you know, pretty calm, and still talk to him to this day, you know, pretty much every day after games. And it's always nice to have, you know, family who supports you.
Of course.
Shannon, you mentioned defense. Like, have you been like a lifelong defenseman, or like your brother's, you know, centerman?
Right. Yeah.
You're a defenseman. How'd that come about? Like, have you always been that guy?
Well, you got to get the pictures up of me as a kid, and I had no choice but to play defense. I was at 9 years old. My mom dug up like a minor hockey program from the Brick Tournament. It's a famous tournament in the West Edmonton Mall, and it's teams from North America, North American wide. And all kids at 9, 10 years old were like, 4'10", 75 to 90 pounds. And in the program, like, we dug it up, I was like just over 5 feet, but 155 pounds. And as a forward, you're not moving at 9 or 10 years old at 155 pounds. I was like just the thickest skin. I actually asked my dad that like recently. I'm like, why did you, because he coached me, I'm like, why did you put me on D? He's like, did you see the size of you? Like, we couldn't put you anywhere else.
Well, why did he ever consider maybe like Mighty Ducks Goldberg style, throw you in net, you know, like
exactly. Yeah, that would have been a good option too. But once I go down, I don't think I was getting up at that age. So
mini sumo wrestler in the net, you know,
exactly,
swimming around the crease.
That'd be a good strategy for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you can work on goalie minus 30, 40, put on the goalie gear in Saskatchewan. It's better just strap on the.
It's a good strategy to keep warm, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
like, I mean, how long? I mean, you were saying that you've known him since he was 15 years old. I mean,
yeah, I think it was like 15 or somewhere around there, right? Like,
so actually, this guy, I'll pump your tires a little bit here.
Oh, I always like this. So there we go.
No, but so obviously, I think you were in the Western Hockey League, and you already drafted Atlanta. You played World Juniors, so me and my brother might have been 13, 14. I was whatever. We're a year apart, so around the same age. And grew up looking up to this guy because you just finished in Atlanta. Yeah, I think your first year. This is just before you got traded to Philadelphia, but he was the hardest working guy in the gym and like just crushing. There was other pros there too, and just phenomenal shape too. But then I remember thinking, he's the hardest working guy in the gym. And then after you invited us to go shoot pucks in what's a town called right outside Saskatoon? We'd go shoot pucks, and this guy would shoot like thousands of pucks after, and he'd invite my brother and I.
Yeah, we were out in Clavette, I think.
Clavette,
right?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, a little minor hockey rink, about 20 minutes east of Saskatoon, and Kobe invited us out there, and I was like, wow, this guy's, in the NHL, he's the hardest working guy. And and then fast forward, you brought up the World Championships in 2009. We played on that team together in Switzerland, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. So we did do that too, and then traded to Philadelphia together. Or no, he was in Philadelphia. I got traded. I meant to play with my brother in Philadelphia, but Kobe was there. So and then. Fast forward a couple more years. You get traded to Tampa. Yeah. And then I end up in Tampa, whatever, 4 or 5 years.
Our connection goes deep.
It's fate. Boys.
So now what? What's next?
So he's, as much as he pumped my tires there, you've long ago you surpassed me in the hardest working category. I have to say that.
I don't know
this guy,
bromance going on right now.
There's a reason that Luke Schenn is where he is today, and it's definitely has a big part of it is hard work. So
all right, enough of the pirate.
When I gave him a hug when he first came in here, I could feel that he was super sweaty. So I'm assuming he just jumped off a bike or something.
Yeah, he always got
it moving, man.
Exactly.
So I mean, your journey it's been a long one, right? Yeah. And you've been in a lot of different cities. I've played for a lot of teams. Obviously, Toronto. You mentioned Philly, L.A., Arizona, Anaheim, Tampa, now Vancouver. Has that been difficult for you in order to really be able to get yourself situated in any one particular city? I mean, has that been hard for you to make adjustments from city to city?
Harder on my wife, I think, moving around, packing up the house every time you get traded. But
that's tough, right?
I always joke around that, like, it would be great to play your whole, career in one organization, but
a stammer, or
admin
there. Right?
But hey, I always brag that I've played on so many teams. I got way more friends than anyone. So
fair enough.
Yeah, no, but no. In all seriousness, every time you get moved, it's a little bit of an adjustment for sure. Going from team to team and trying to see where you fit in the lineup or amongst a group of guys, or which guys you're going to connect with off the ice more so than others. But been pretty fortunate along the way. You meet so many good people in every organization, and that's the one cool thing about it. Like, you look back at your career, and there wasn't one place that I didn't thoroughly enjoy. From, you get to live in different cities across North America and see different organizations. And I will say now it gets a little tougher moving. I got a couple kids and stuff like that. So that's the logistical side of things. Like I said, that's probably why it's harder on my wife than it is me. You get to just pack up and go. But I've enjoyed it and met a lot of great people along the way, and want to continue to play. For sure. So
I want to bounce back a little bit. So you get drafted 5th overall. Yeah. You go to Toronto, which, if you talk to anybody from Toronto, it's the Mecca, the epicenter of hockey. Yeah. Yeah. You make the team as an 18-year-old, which, there's every year there's maybe like 3 or 4 guys in the whole league that make the team as an 18-year-old. And, what's that like? What's that like? You go into Toronto, you're living with billets, playing in the Western Hockey League in Kelowna. You get to Toronto. You're on your own. Yeah. You're playing with guys like a guy like I grew up idolizing, Matt Sundin. Yeah. What's going through 18-year-old Luke Schenn's head?
Well, you know what? So when I first got drafted, you go up. Remember, you go on stage, you get your jersey, you're shaking guys' hands, you don't even know. It's like, hey, is this the president, the GM, like scout? Like, I don't even know who I'm shaking hands with right now. And then right after that, I put on the jersey. I have the jersey on for like, honestly, 3 minutes. And I go backstage, and sure enough, like Toronto media, or Toronto hadn't had a high draft pick since I think like Wendell Clark or something like that. So media, there's tons of buzz, and you go back there. And the first question I got asked was, so the Leafs haven't won a cup since '67. What are you going to do to change that? And I'm like, man, I've had this jersey on for like 2 minutes. Like, I'm 18 years old. Like, holy smokes.
You're the wood chipper already.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, well, I grew up watching Toronto a little bit, and, being from Canada, you pay attention, but not. And also, too, like, you're not totally, there was no social media kind of back, right? So you're not exactly sure what it's all about. And then fast forward to the rookie tournament in Kitchener. And it was my first game. I think we played like Ottawa in the rookie tournament right before main camp. And I was a little bit slow out of the gates, and probably, a little bit nervous and trying to do too much, being, having the tag of the high draft pick or whatever. And I didn't have a very good game. And I remember going out to the lobby the next day for the next game. And there's a paper sitting like on the desk in the lobby or whatever. And I pick it up, and it's like, Schenn could be, future bust of what we've seen on the first rookie game. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, okay, well, I better never read the paper again while I'm in Toronto. So I didn't, and, listened to radio and all that sort of stuff, just totally shut it off and ignored it. But in saying that, you're kind of oblivious to what's going on, but also looking back, you realize what a special place it is and great organization. And it's quite the place to start off your career, and very thankful for the opportunity. And looking back, there's some ups and downs, but, overall, fond memories, and it was a great spot.
So you got to develop some thick skin like the Toronto media, and then you get traded to Philadelphia, which has, I don't know if it's equal footing, but similar footing with
the fan base and the
media negativity, right?
Yeah, I remember like in Philly, it's crazy too. Like, you'd be on like a 3-game losing streak, and all of a sudden, like, you get a power play to start the game, and the penalty kill would shoot down on our power play, which a penalty kill is supposed to do, and the fans would start booing, and you're like, this is 20 seconds into the game right now. So it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, there's some great hockey markets out there as far as, fan bases and media. And, we kind of deal with the same thing in Vancouver. And all it is like, it's passion behind it, and people care about the team, and it's different. And I've played other ends of the spectrum where you play, in Arizona where not a lot of people are paying attention, and, it's just a totally different market. But at the end of the day, people care, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
For sure.
That was a tough little stretch. Was it around Anaheim or Arizona where you got sent down to the minors right there for a little bit, and obviously you bounced back? What was that like, and how did you bounce back? I mean, what did you have to do to get back on track?
Yeah, well, that was 10 years into my career, and I never played a game in the minors, and I was 29 years old, and when I first got put on waivers and you go unclaimed, it's an eye opener, and kind of, I'm not going to name names or nothing like that, but, some people within that organization kind of, well, is this the end of the road for you? Sure you really want to go down for the first time in your career at 29 years old, or has the game passed you by? I was kind of getting asked those questions. And I went down there, and Dallas Eakins was the head coach, and he's the coach now of the Ducks, but he was the coach in San Diego.
Yep.
And he was with the Leafs doing player development when I was there. So I kind of had a relationship with him, and he said, well, help us out down here, and I'll try to help you get back to the NHL. So it kind of worked itself out, but it was it sucked at the time, and I was driving back and forth from Newport Beach to San Diego every day, 2 hours each way, because that's where my wife and kid were set up, and it was a long commute. But at the end of the day, like, looking back, not that it's a tough time, and you don't necessarily enjoy it at the time, but looking back, it was the best thing for me, and everything happens for a reason. I was able to kind of push through it and landed in Tampa, and you get 2 cups because of it. None of that would have happened without, kind of going down to the minors. So like I said, everything happens for a reason, and glad it worked out, even though it was not enjoyable at the time.
Pretty remarkable, actually.
So at this point, you're at the end of the season, you're going to be a free agent, right?
Correct.
So have you and Braydon thought at all about getting together again, playing on the same team?
Bringing the band back together.
I know you're kind of focused on this season, and I know you know some of these
Braydon,
numbers.
as in yourself?
No, the game has passed me, but and I know you know these numbers, but there's been 47 pairs of brothers that have played in the NHL together. Only 10 have won a Stanley Cup together. Do you guys ever talk about that, or do you guys have plans? Or are you just kind of like whatever's the best situation? I know he's long term in St. Louis, but
yeah, no, we haven't talked about that. Yeah, he's kind of found a nice home there in St. Louis, and I mean wherever I end up is kind of. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's so much can change. The one thing I've realized in this game is, as much as you try to plan in the future and predict, I'm horrible at it. Everything I ever think that's going to happen never happens and goes a different way on me, and it works itself out. So, but no, we're very fortunate. I mean, I got the chance to go down to watch Braydon in the Cup Finals against Boston, and was there for Game 7. When he won the Cup, I was on the ice and giving him the hugs with all the families, and I was like the happiest older, proud brother in the world. And 2 weeks later, or whatever it was, 3 weeks later, free agency, that was the year that you guys had that massive year with Tampa and lost in the first round to Columbus.
Yeah.
And
Don't
then,
remind us.
Well, no, but I'm just saying.
But
and then so my brother just wins the Cup. All of a sudden, I get a call from Tampa, and I'm like, okay, this is a team that's like right there, and just kind of looking at some whatever players around the fringe, like the core was already there, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, maybe this is my chance to get my name on it myself. And sure enough, we both had the chance to do it. So very very lucky to have the name on the cup next to my brother's too. So that's pretty cool.
So let's talk about something I know that you're really passionate about.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. Where am I going with it?
Meals on the road.
Meals on the road, yeah.
We talked to Killer about this.
Did Breezer tick you off before the podcast that we were going this way? Or?
No, but the funny thing is, so because you texted me like that Killer was on here, and he brought it up.
He did.
But then McDonough texted me. So Ryan McDonough, the Blue yesterday, he's like, hey, I was on Elliot Friedman's podcast today in Toronto. And he goes, sure enough, it gets brought up about like meals on the road, and like he knows that I'm a big Traeger guy, and he goes right away, like I brought up your name, and I'm like every podcast going on with food right now, like my name gets brought up.
It's a fact. So I mean, you're obviously a foodie, so
exactly.
Let's talk about it a little bit.
So I want to define it a little bit because I think guys here and everybody I've ever played with you, it's not just going out to eat; it's going out for a muck. And you have a very specific terminology, and we talked to Hagel, and Hagel has a certain terminology here. But for me, hockey terminology is like always going to be associated with Luke Schenn.
Okay.
And going out for a big muck is definitely something. If anyone ever said that to me, I'd be like, "Do you know Luke Schenn?" So where did that come from? Like, what's the?
I don't even know
muck come from?
I don't know where it came from. I have no idea, but I don't know. That's just. To me, it's like, besides winning, it's like the best part of the league is going out with the boys and like just having a big muck on the road. Like and that's the thing. It's like, I just throw a bunch of stuff in the middle of the table. Everyone gets to try everything. You have a little glass of wine and just like the boys shoot the stories.
Right.
And like, I always say like, out of my whole career, like, I think Killer told you this. I've never once room service. So this is the big thing.
It's an unbelievable streak. Like of all the streaks in the game, I know we had like Phil Kessel and Yandel, and we got.
I refuse. I battled through flu-like symptoms just to go out with the boys, like everything. But no, I always say this. Like played with, like even like you for example, like Vinny LeCabe, like just like guys that I still keep in touch with, and I don't remember even like my own games, like. 95% of guys' games, like good or bad, or like good plays they made, but like I'll always remember like the stories and like the BS that was talked about on the road, like during these dinners, and like that's what it's all about, like just getting to know the guys. I feel like, and like the games, I'm like, you've played 1,000 games, and this guy's played how many games, and you've done this, and how many great plays, and this guy's got this amount of career points, but I'm like, I don't remember any of that. I just remember like the guys, right? So that's to me like the
number cool, though. Yeah, man. That's cool to me. Like you've made that a part of your game day.
It's an ethos for him. It's it's 100%. Like as important as waking up. It's like I got to make sure I recognize that I find a dinner party.
And I always try to get like places that guys haven't tried before on the road too. Like,
but is there like a process that goes into this? Are you preparing, like when you're knowing you're going to go to, let's say you're going to go to Boston? Are you researching like Michelin star restaurants that you're going to go to that you've never been to before you go to these cities?
I don't like go on Google and like I just like.
You just go?
No, you got like a contact list in your phone that knows everyone in every city, and you're like,
he's like intel.
And you're like, hey, where do you go? And then you're like, and you're like lining up. Next thing you know, you got the manager's number of that restaurant, and you're like, hey, this is the spot. Trust me on this. And
Pre-scout the menu.
Well, that's what I was
online.
going to say. Yeah, you got to get a pre-scout in. Like, it's like, like coaches go into games, like they pre-scout the team's forecheck and penalty kill and whatever. Like, you got to pre-scout the menu. It's just important.
Wow. I mean, especially if you're doing family style. Killer did say that you love to do like that family style where there's a multitude of things on the table, and then guys can kind of pick and choose and do as much as they want.
Yeah, you can't order your own individual thing around me, because like if you order your own, like I'm coming to eat yours anyway. So you might as well just go family style, right? Like that's a fact, Kobe. You know that.
He's got long arms. They just get really long, Like,
no, it's usually guys always joke like, "Hey, do you mind if I try that?" And you're like, "Well, your fork's already in it." So yeah, what am I going to say? No now?
Well, so obviously being back in Tampa, I mean, have you already mapped out your spots that you're going to this weekend already? I mean, or do you have like some favorites here that you love in Tampa?
Yeah, there's a lot of good spots in Tampa, but I don't know where I'm going yet. I think I might be getting together with a couple of guys on the team, maybe
Sure.
Hetty and Stammer and those guys. So
Okay.
I don't know. Usually maybe I'll swing by to their house or something like that too. Maybe they're cooking.
Who's a better cook?
I don't know. They're both pretty good on the
grill.
On the grill, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
grill masters.
Yeah.
Are you a good on the grill, Kobe? I don't.
I wouldn't say good. I would say I can get around it, but that's
Okay.
that's I've been known to
Don't sell
cause a
yourself
flame
short.
up every once in a while.
Okay.
Char it. You like
But
to char it?
yeah, I'm a charred. Yeah, that's charred. Like that's blackened right there. Me and Wolfie, we like to play some games every once in a while
do.
in here, and we like the what if game.
Yeah.
So, what if Luke Schenn has the ability to set up a dinner party with all the guys, like from the beginning of his career to where you are right now?
How many?
You got 4 guys.
Okay.
Oh,
Who are you taking to dinner, and why is it them? And like, there's you got this whole range of guys you played with in your career.
Wow. Could be coaches.
I know
too?
this is a tough one,
I'm
but
not taking on coaches.
Okay. There you go.
Ever.
Making it sure.
Man, oh man. Oh, hey, I've had a lot of dinners with you. Like
we've had quite a few. Yeah.
we've had a lot.
Okay.
I love 4.
I don't know. Is that too many or?
Oh, out of 0. I got 4D. Yeah. I mean, I love the guys here in Tampa too, like Stammer, Hetty, McDonough. I always used to go out for dinner with Vinny LeCavier. And then like our crew in Philly was unbelievable too. Like, obviously my brother, but
Yeah, of course.
but
did anybody like jump out at you like they always had like the best stories, or they knew the best restaurants, or they just brought the energy,
the vibe.
the vibe? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, you're throwing me. I can't even nail it. There's just so many guys. Like every spot, like there's just so many. We had a great crew in Arizona even when I was there with like Mike Smith and Alex Goligoski, guys
Smitty.
like that. Yeah. Smitty was here too.
He was here for a while, man.
Yeah.
He was a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'd adjust it a little bit. Like, okay, if you got one city to go to and one restaurant, where are you going?
Ooh.
Maybe does that narrow it down a little bit more? Is there a number one, or like if you're writing the Luke Schenn like road
playbook?
muck, like diaries, like
This is getting out of control.
what's chapter 1? Like where are we going?
You got me. There's so many like little hole. I can't even think of spots right now. You just got me totally flustered right now because my mind's spinning.
Let's start with what's one of your favorite cities other than Vancouver and Tampa. All right, so take the two of us.
Okay, well, I love going to Nashville. Like Nashville's
Okay.
awesome.
So where's
Yeah.
one of your favorite spots in Nashville?
Well, there's that new spot there. What's it called? The Yossi's part owner of it, Roman Yossi, and there's a couple.
Of course, you know that. Yeah.
Major point.
But no, there's okay. For example, I took the guys in Philly a few years ago from Tampa to Double Knot. You've been to Double Knot before, yeah. It's like a little place like no one's really heard of unless you're from Philly, and it's super like tough to get into. Like it's
Okay.
a bumping spot.
Exclusive.
So we brought Stammer, Hetty there. I want to say McDonough, and then the Russians came too, like Kuch and Vasi and those guys. And the other day, I get a random text from Sergey, and I'm like, weird. Like I haven't talked to Sergey in a long time. Like, what's he want? Hey, Schenner, what's that place in Philly called? Can you get us a reservation, please? So now Sergey's still. I'm like, oh yeah, Sergey, yeah, I'll try to hook you up.
He's
So,
an
He's learning
he's
from
an
the best.
influencer
He's
now.
learning from
yeah.
the best.
So there you go. There's a little story. I haven't talked to Sergey in months, and
He hits
the
you
only
up
thing
for
he
a
needs is a
restaurant.
reservation.
So
That's
did you get a
great.
chance to play with Chris Kunitz?
No, I didn't.
No, so you missed
You
Chris,
told me
right?
about this, though.
Okay, yeah, but I know you've heard the story.
Yeah.
And this is an unbelievable
yeah.
story about Chris Kunitz. And he told the story about going back to his time in Pittsburgh. And it was, and if I'm getting any of these facts wrong, just let me know if you've heard of this again. But it was Matt Cullen. I think it was, everyone expected Matt Cullen. It was going to be his last year, and it was kind of his retirement year. And there was like 4 or 5 guys in Pittsburgh, and they decided, they love going out to eat, and they kind of had a similar restaurant group, but they decided to get dinner jackets made.
Okay, distinguished gentleman stuff.
And they went out, and as soon as the season came out, they went and they picked all the restaurants. They were like making calls. They had the wives like calling different restaurants, Michelin star restaurants.
It was all like tasting menus and crazy stuff like that, like wine pairings.
Insane, like the top notch, like where you'd want to go. And so they get these dinner jacket made up, and it's like Matt Cullen's farewell tour or something like that. It was like Cooney like on their jacket, and I could just totally see you doing something like that. But one of the best parts about Kunis's group was, all the boys started being like, "Oh man, they went to where they did that," and they're hearing the stories about the guys.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Hey, can next time he goes for dinner, can I jump in with your guys' group?" And the dinner group was like, well, hold on a second here. They made up an application with questions and different scenarios. Okay, so there's 3 pieces of sushi on the table. There's 4 guys. What do you do? What do you do? What's going to happen? And so there was this whole thing about, Cullen's last year, which I think he ended up playing like 2 or 3 more years after that, for whatever reason, but Kunitz told me the story.
The best part is it wasn't even his last year.
It wasn't even his last year, yeah. But I remember Kunitz being like, it was the best. I had some of the best wine that year, got introduced to French wines, became an expert in it, had some of the best food.
Hey, do you know what I was just going to say? You just brought this up now. Remember that? Okay, we went to that global series in Stockholm with Tampa.
Oh.
Yeah.
That place we went to in Stockholm. Who was it? Was it me, you, and was it McDonough?
Yeah, I think so. Or
one other guy.
We
had 4 guys. It was unbelievable.
One of the Swedes knew somebody and set it up. So it was
like a private dinner.
Was Strawman there? Or no, Strawman wasn't the team.
Same thing. It was like a tasting menu, but like world renowned.
Sure.
And
Stasny knew the guy.
Shaddy was there.
Shaddy was there.
Shaddy and Kirk set it up.
It was like a Michelin star restaurant. They had like no gas. Everything was cooked by like this big pile of wood out back.
Yeah.
They had like 4 seatings.
Yes.
And we were eating like raw reindeer,
Swedish reindeer,
shaved truffle, and all this stuff. It was
that was a good one. Hey,
yeah, that was memorable. You know what? That was
up there.
That was right up.
We
there.
were hurting that day too. We were like, should we go? Should we not? And it was the best thing we ever did.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here with Luke Schenn. This is the final rundown here. So this is strictly from personal experience, right? The best categories that you fit players that you've played against yourself.
Okay.
Fastest skater you've played against.
Oh, 97. Okay. David, that's easy.
Big day. Okay. Biggest chirper.
Chirper? Who chirps? Sean Avery used to chirp a ton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love playing against Avery because the refs hated him. You could almost do whatever you wanted to him.
Marchand was always up there.
Okay.
Ryan Reeves chirps a lot now.
He does, yeah. All right. Smelliest player.
Smelliest?
Yeah. Some of you are just like, you're skating. You can tell they're funky.
Can you think of anyone?
I could think of some guys that had like bad breath, and you kind of whiff of that. Like you're like, dude, like
when you get in a scrum with the guy.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone off the top, but
no smelliest. Okay, hardest.
But who smells good?
We're all pretty greasy. We're all pretty greasy.
Fair enough. That's a fair assessment. Hardest hitting.
Hardest hitting. Who's the hardest hitting that we played against in our career?
Luke Schenn. Colliding with Luke Schenn.
Yeah. No. I'm trying to think. Why? Well, I always like love watching Tutu play because he's like small, little Jordan Tutu, like wrecking ball.
Yeah.
Going back to like his World Junior days, and then you get him on the ice, like just a little guy who's like, what was he, 5'9", but like 180 pounds, but just would steamroll guys who are like 6'4" and like come at you full speed and. Just guys like that, he's on the ice. And
like the boards wouldn't even contain him. I saw him hit a guy in junior, and like they both went crashing through the Zamboni gate. Like he was just like a cannonball out there.
Oh, yeah.
Most annoying or pesky?
Annoying or pesky?
Yanni Gord,
yeah. He's just like a fireball. And Anton Roussel back in like the Dallas days, too. Like he was just annoy the hell out of you, too. Like, go a million miles an hour, too, and like get under your skin. But yeah, Gordo's a good one. Yeah, Gordo.
It's funny when you play with those guys or meet those guys. Always great guys.
Of course.
You love them.
The best.
That's right.
The best.
Most elusive skater or just most elusive player. Obviously, as a defenseman, I'm sure you've seen a lot.
Elusive. I mean, Pointer's pretty good.
Yeah, he is.
From a D-man's perspective, like watching Cale Makar like break out the puck is just insane. Or like him escape guys on the offensive zone blue line where you know how hard it is to walk the blue line where you're
Sure.
like, okay, if I get like 3 strides in the middle right now,
Right.
like this is danger. Where he's just like dancing guys up the line, like even like actually my deep partner in Vancouver, Quinn Hughes too. Like he's pretty good on his edges too.
No doubt.
So some guys that are another guy too, Matt Barzal.
Yeah.
He's good on his edges too.
Yeah. And finally, hardest shot.
I mean, I always never loved getting in front of Weber's. Weber's shot. Weber.
Who does?
Yeah.
Well, Stammer had stepped in here for a moment. I think he was
he
coming
was
to say hi
observing?
to you, but
Oh, geez.
He shoots muffins.
yeah.
They're just accurate.
Awesome, man. Listen, Luke Schenn, we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule of Vancouver to join us here on the Bolts Block Party with Kobe and I, and we wish you the absolute bet for the rest of your.
Yeah, I could take, honestly, I could do another episode of stuff I got in this book here of
I'm
just
saying like about Yanni talking about.
oh
him,
my
and,
God,
you know,
I got so much like Luke Schenn
Oh,
stuff.
I'll come by before morning skate at 6 a.m. We'll start going
We'll get
after
a part 2 going.
yeah.
no
Yeah.
doubt, man. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it,
Okay,
man.
appreciate
Good
it.
luck
Thanks
to
for
you.
having me, guys. Thanks.
Great.